Hello, I'm Mark Pawson. I'm a British artist, a male artist. I make books and I'm also a bookseller. When Print and Matter asked me to make a video for this series, they asked me at exactly the right time because the last couple of weeks I've been cataloguing and filing mail art from the 1980s. When I was about 10, I discovered that I could write off in the post and get interesting things back, writing to things in comics, getting interesting little catalogues. And then a few years later, when I was about 13, I was writing off to American skateboard companies and getting really nice quality stickers back in the post. So I'd found a way to reach out and find out things that were happening in other countries and away from the quite small town where I grew up. By 1980, 81, when I was 16 or 17, I was ordering fanzines through the post from things like this. This is the Rough Trade catalogue of fanzines, 8 pages. There's about 200 fanzines in here. Marks by the ones that I ordered. And I was also buying badges. You may call them buttons or pins from the Better Badges catalogue, which also had a DIY service, or lots of Adam and the Ant badges if you wanted those. So I could see that there was like self-made, do-it-yourself publications out there, and I was quite interested in them. But I wasn't always interested in the bands. I was a little bit more interested in the way they were produced and created, how they were put together, than the actual contents. Until I discovered Cabaret number 8, put together by Ben Allen in Northern Ireland. This was just a different kind of zine. It's a mixture of collage, mail art pieces, record reviews, contacts for people trading tapes, and this was what was most interesting for me. This is an advert for a zine, fanzine and record label, and right at the top they put their contact list before they tell you about any of the things they've made. This is a list of about 50 people who are musicians. They make zines, record labels and mail artists, all just mixed in together. They're sharing their mailing list, they're sharing their address book with you. And I decided that I was going to send things to, I went through that list and decided that I was going to send things to about 15 people, someone from every different country. I just kind of went round and chose, and this is what I sent. First of all, I got some stamps and some airmail stickers, and this is what I sent out. These are the things that I was making at the time. Spray painted postcards with car spray paint, stickers printed with metal printing blocks. You see those? It's better. With contact details on the back, always with the contact details on the back. And Xerox collage pieces as well. And it just so happened at that time, in 1981, 1982, it just so happened that I tapped into the postal art network, the mail art network, when there was a real big, at a really vibrant, energetic time. There was a kind of a new wave of energy, new wave of people getting involved. And so for the next about 15 years, every morning my post looked something like this. I never went to art college. This was my art education. So just talking about mail art a bit more generally, mail art can also be usefully called postal art, correspondence art, part of the Eternal Network, Robert Filiu, Fluxus artist's term, You can also see it as the ethereal open network, Vittorio Baroni, Italian artist term. And it's lots of ways of describing it. Let's try. I'd say it's an autonomous, ad hoc, non-commercial network operating mainly through the Universal Postal Service. And it's a network, but it's also more multiple overlapping networks. A constellation. And what I'm going to try and do now is show you a sort of a random selection of pieces, mostly from the mid-1980s. I've avoided showing you, I've avoided cherry picking stuff from famous names. So you're getting a much more of a grassroots view. This is NEP magazine from 1983 from Berlin, edited by Uli Kattenstroff. It calls itself a free circulating media stroke mail art magazine. It's an assembling publication. There's 30 contributors, everyone sends in 100 pages. An assembling magazine is a way of sharing the labour costs, the production costs between all the contributors. It's a way of reimagining and completely restructuring the way a publication is put together, sharing the editorial responsibility. There's a lot. This copy has started to fall apart, which makes it easy for me to show you some of the pages. It started disassembling. Lots of photocopy, but lots of handwork as well. Rubber stamp, collaging, stamping, and just some bits of junk mail and newspaper sliced up in there as well. And the back page has a full list of all the contributors. So this could, if you came across a copy of this magazine somewhere, this could be your entry point into the network. All the people there with their real addresses, their real street addresses. Another self-edited, self-created magazine, slightly different structure this time. This is ArtComNet 22, 1985, from Larry D. Smith in Philadelphia. There's 35 contributors and 35 copies. You have to be in the magazine to get a copy. This way of publishing echoes back to some APA, Amateur Press Association zines, from the 40s, 50s and 60s. So everyone has something in the magazine. There's a little report of everyone's activity. One page, another page, that happens to be my contribution. And there's a running commentary from the editor all the way through the magazine. Kind of a friendly, chatty, talkative contribution from the editor. Next, handmade rubber stamp postcard from John Fawcett, Connecticut, using Mickey Mouse stamps, custom made, maybe you just got them from a shop, and hand carved stamps as well. Completely handmade, completely unique, quite cute, but not too cute. More stamps on the front, more Mickey Mouse. And staying in the States, this is Eat It Up, a magazine of art and culture, number 27 from Patrick T. in Berkeley. This is from 1983. It's a 2-page magazine, photocopied. Images, text, listings about what's happening locally and also internationally through the Mail Art Network. Cheap to make, easy to mail. postcard size. So for me, networking, the Mail Art Network was a great way to independently explore and experiment. It was a playful, generous and collaborative way of working, exchanging work and ideas with other people around the world, people from vastly different backgrounds, different ages than I would meet in everyday life, and exchanging and working on an equal one-to-one basis. Next is a postcard from Japanese artist Shozo Shimamoto. Shozo was a member of the Gutai group in Japan. This is a die-cut postcard. The address and stamps put directly on the front. One of these type of pieces which challenged the post office. This arrived as it was. It wasn't wrapped up or anything, and it's a picture of a rhizome structure, an embodiment of the network. Rhizome. I believe the networking truly means art itself. It's no more than worth for me to call a composition which I make my own work. The rhizome's a root structure, a nurturing, sustaining network. Next, we're going to have a look at a few pieces of work from Latin America and from Eastern Europe. Some of the artists working in Latin American countries and in Eastern Europe were working under very constrained circumstances. They were liable to have their work monitored by the authorities, stolen or interfered with, and on some occasions possibly spend a couple of nights in prison. This is a postcard from Clemente Perdin, Uruguayan artist whose work always had a political activist message to it. Next, we've got a couple of pages from This is from Cesar Espinosa in Mexico. It's a few pages from a catalogue of a visual experimental poetry exhibition with a focus on Latin American artists. There's been a long tradition of visual poetry, concrete poetry in Latin America. And again, stamps and the address just put directly on the front of the cover. It's from 1986. Eastern Europe, Yugoslavia. Characteristic pink envelope made out of very strangely textured paper that feels like it's been recycled 7 or 8 times. Milinkovic made an assembling magazine. It's the invite to the assembling magazine called Necromonicon. He was a musician as well. That's his band Autopsy. And there was also in here a print, which is a screen print as well. This is a piece from Polish artist Paweł Patasz. This was sent folded with the edges sewn shut. You can see there the threads. had to be carefully unpicked. This was an intricately multi-leveled, collaged, painted, rubber stamped piece. The intention of these works was that they were added to and returned to the creator. This one was just a little bit too special to relinquish, so I kept it. What else do I want to say? I think that's everything. Oh yeah, two more things. What I've been showing you so far is physical artifacts, which is great. What I can't show you in a video is the interplay, the exchange, the excitement of sending stuff off in the post, waiting to see if you get a reply. You might get a reply 2 or 3 days later. You might get a reply 6 months later. You might never get a reply. Yeah. So that part of the process I can't show you, but that's just as much a part of it for me as all the beautiful things that I've shown you. And okay, we've seen a lot of work from the 80s, and we're going to come right up to date to a piece of work from this year, from January this year. This is a piece from Ryusuke Koen, Japanese artist. This is a series of works which Ryusuke's been making since 1985. That's 35 years, called Brain Cell. This is an A3 sized print, a multi-layered print made with the Japanese printogoko machine, and also with stamps and stickers on it as well. There's images from about 50 artists on there, and these are printed in 150 copies, multi-layered. Brain cell, part of the network, all the brain cells joined together. This is a great snapshot of the Mail Art Network, and a kind of physical embodiment as well. And of course, it still comes with an address list. These are the addresses you can write to. This is like more of a visual representation of the network. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's interesting, and I hope the other videos in the series are interesting.